All right, sorry guys. Man, battery went dead. I never thought, never thought it would go dead. So let me, orientation's locked. I don't know what this deal is saying. I don't know what this thing is saying. Why will it not allow me to turn, it says orientation will rotate. I don't get that. I don't know what that's saying. Why it's telling me that I can't do it the other way. I don't know. Stupid technology, isn't it great? All right, sorry guys. I am very sorry. I lost you guys. Goodness, craziness. Now I'm gonna have to do it the other way. All right. Stupid orientation, I tell you. Crazy. All right. Oh, so sorry. I gotta shave. I look like a bum. Man. All right. I don't know what happened, why my battery went dead, but it is what it is. All right. Let's try this again. Now we're going the other way. Well, hopefully you guys will join me. Let's see if I can get you guys out there. All right, I got 4 people back. That's not very good. I had a bunch of people in here before. Not. Sorry, guys. Very, very sorry. I'm trying to. I only have 2 in here now. Not good. You're welcome, Gordon. Sorry, I lost a whole bunch of people, and I'm trying to figure out how to let everybody know again. You know, this is actually a lot. This explains a lot about software that you're not familiar with when you when you work, and then what happens is you're just not familiar with it, and so here it is. I'm not as familiar with YouTube, especially this going live thing. So got only 4 back here. I'm trying to see if I can send a. Well, I'm slowly gaining people back. I'm sorry, guys. Well, now I plugged my phone in, so maybe we won't have a problem next time. All right. So, all right. All right, let me see here. All right, on the microsphere, crazy. Just got back from Nebraska, 2 to 4 inch hail, no need for it, but that's what ASI wants, laugh out loud. Yeah, they sure do. So the problem that occurs with, you know, and that's something they just came up with and changed. So that's you know, that's what the carriers are doing. They're changing things on a regular basis, and we have to just be flexible and do what they say. And probably in another 3 to 5 months, they're going to change it back. So we started using Settle Assist, which was a great program, but then you know, they had so many problems with it. They had to tweak through it and figure out how to make it work. And you know, it took forever for them to figure it out. All right, good. I got those comments up so I can. So now we're in the portrait mode instead of the landscape mode. Okay. I don't know. I'm gonna figure out this one day when I go to do this. Try and figure out mistakes when I go on live because I lost a bunch of people. We had a whole bunch of people in here, so I sent a note for everybody to come back, and we'll see if they decide to come. I want to copy that, and I want to come back here. Sorry guys, I'll get set up here in just a minute. All right. All right, question. I'm new. Ultimate goal is to become an independent field adjuster. Cat, in the meantime, how would you suggest I get my foot in the door with daily claims, hail, wind? I'm in Denver. Oh, Denver's a great spot to find work. You certainly could find some work, but the problem is there's a lot of adjusters there too. So Denver is a very popular area for hail damage, and all right, are we there now? Does that work? All right, we're back up again. Sorry guys, just having tons of technical problems. If people don't appreciate your live chats, then don't do them. Their loss. I enjoy the videos you post. Hope all is well and you're having a good time storm chasing when you can. Yeah, Gordon. So anyways, yeah, I think a lot of people enjoy what I'm doing. So I actually just started doing lives again. I was many months since the last live. And I think I was just so busy, and I just was having a hard time thinking about how I could sit there for an hour on live. But man, I was talking about something earlier, and I can't remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, so Billy, yeah, so you're asking about Colorado. So getting started in dailies is not going to be you're not going to be able to jump right into dailies. Because they're going to want to see all your training, your certifications, your experience level before they're going to jump into dailies. So see dailies as kind of like you're now your own manager, and you don't need a babysitter, you don't need a trainer, you don't need a manager, you don't need anybody looking over you as far as your stuff goes, and you're independent, you're self-employed. You have that self-employed mentality where you're good at doing things by yourself. You don't need anybody to monitor you. So as a new adjuster, most of those firms will know that you're not going to be self-sufficient. You're going to need a ton of training. You're going to need help. You're going to need guidance, how to write the reports, blah, blah, blah. So jumping into dailies is going to be hard, but you could get on a catastrophe. So here's an opportunity for you as a catastrophe. So here, back up again. Make sure you have your training. Make sure you got Xactimate 1 and 2 certifications under your belt. Make sure you get possibly your steep and tall if you're not comfortable. This is like a ladder assist type certification if you're not familiar with climbing roofs or you feel unsafe. Rope and harness training, stuff like that. Those are great things that let people know you're safe and you're prepared and you're trained. You can get deployed. I got deployed on my first CAT to Abilene, Texas with, I think, not enough experience. So it was quite a very difficult catastrophe that I was on. I knew the program. I was certified in level 1 and 2, but I was so green and so untrained in writing those estimates that I was making a lot of mistakes. And so what would happen is I'd turn a file in, it was wrong. The file adjuster, nice a couple times, but then started to get annoyed with me. And so literally every file I turned in, he was ticked off at me because it just wasn't the quality that he was used to, and he was not a very good file reviewer as far as patient. So that's the problem. You're going to frustrate yourself as a new adjuster going on a catastrophe because the catastrophe in the field is really meant for people who have skill, they know what they're doing, they're highly efficient, they're very organized, and they can handle, you know, 20 or 30 claims dropped in their lap at the same time. And you're going to call all these 20 or 30 people. You're going to make sure that they're, you know, following up with them perfectly. You're going to schedule perfectly. You're going to get to them on time. You're going to be handling about 5 claims a day. That's going to be really, really hard for a brand new adjuster who just doesn't know the flow, just basically is struggling through the basics of trying to figure out how to write a claim. So for you, the opportunity to get to a desk position is really your best first step. And that's because there's going to be trainers and managers, lots of patience. You can put the person on hold that you're talking to, or, you know, hang up and say, hey, can I call you back in 10 minutes? Those are things that are so common in the desk positions. And you've got your peers all sitting around you. You got 20 people down a row. Somebody there is far more experienced than you, and so you can go up to them. Instead of asking your trainer, you go up and say, hey, you know, I'm stuck on a claim here. I'm trying to figure out what to do here. You mind coming and take a look? And I had that a lot when I was a desk adjuster, because I actually learned the software before going to the desk adjusting position. So I was actually pretty fluent on the software. So I got a lot of people coming to my desk going, hey, can you show me this? Can you show me that? And it worked out really well. But those are the people that you get to ask questions as a brand new adjuster that you can't do when you're sitting in a hotel room writing claims on a catastrophe. You don't have anybody to call. I mean, you might be able to call your trainer or manager that's on site in a hotel room somewhere, or maybe even be in that, living in that hotel alongside them, but you got 5 claims a day to do. And if you're stuck on one and you can't get one out the door, and tomorrow you're supposed to be doing 5 more, you're talking about committing suicide. It's absolutely beyond stressful at a catastrophe when you're trying to run 5 claims a day and you don't have the experience to write 2. So I don't even curse that upon somebody who's brand new, because that's just, it's literally a death wish. And the downside is that it'll cause you to gain kind of like a reputation with that file reviewer, or even that person that is your manager, that you're not skilled enough to be on a job. You shouldn't have been deployed, and it will hurt you. And you know, people may not even deploy you again. You'll get a blacklist in that firm, and they'll say, no, we're not hiring you anymore. So that's not a good place to be. You want to, when you get deployed to a catastrophe, you want them to be, when they're done, you know, you get your 20 or 30 claims at the beginning. You want them at the end of that 30 claims to say, hey, you want to stick around and do 20 more? I can give you 20 more. That's the type of catastrophe you want to be on, is someone who's willing to give you the time of day, give you all the work you want, and you make a ton of money. So have I ever done auto total loss? I think that's what I saw. And actually, yeah, that was my first gig, not my first gig, several gigs. I started out in liability in auto, and that is where you make decisions on who is at fault for the accident. Pretty simple, huh? You hit somebody from behind, guess who what? You're at fault. So you have this little conversation on the phone. You call them up, call up both parties. Hey, tell me in your own words what happened. And so you have these series of questions that you ask them. You go through these 20 or 30 questions, and you do a recorded statement for them. And you get a police report for that? Well, the police report pretty much says, dude behind you hit you, it's his fault. So you ask for the police report, and it pretty much tells you what your liability decision is going to be. You know, it's pretty much a no-brainer. So you can be really unskilled in a lot of areas and do liability. It's an interesting position. I learned a lot about policy, which was actually the best benefit of that, is learning what the policy pays for, how the language of the policy. So I started getting exposed to the policy, which was really good. I did move over into total loss, and that actually became the primary work that I did for about 2 years, as I worked total loss for State Farm. And I really enjoyed that, and I was really good at that. I hate to say it, but really good at that. I just learned how to talk to people, how to work with banks, get them paid off, you know, tell people the bad news, their car's wrecked and they're only getting $2,000 because the rest of it's got to go to the bank. So So you have to work on those communication skills, your patience with the person who's just lost their car that they think it's theirs. Okay, think about it. It's my car. Why are you not paying me the $40,000 that I paid for the car? Well, number one, you drove off the lot and it just dropped, 15% in value. Number two, you got a dent in the front left that wasn't there when you bought the car. Oh yeah, well that's a bike came by, my kid hit it, and well that depreciates the value of the car. Well, number three, the inside of the car was trash and it looked like you threw Coke all over the car, so that depreciates from the value. And the stain that was on that, the scratches that were on the dash on the right side, looks like your passenger was putting his feet on the dash. Oh yeah, my kids do that all the time. Well, that depreciates the value too. And then number five, whatever it is, the bank owns the car until it's paid off, and you owe $38,000 to the bank for that car. So I'm only going to be able to write you a check for $2,000. Well, how am I going to buy a car with $2,000? Well, the same way you bought that car is you borrowed money for that car and you agreed to make payments until the thing was paid off. So would I pick auto or residential? What is that? Residential claims? Is that what you're thinking? Clarify on that. Passive income. You're welcome, Gordon. I'm guessing that's probably, what is your pick, auto or resident? I guess it's residential. Let me think. I did not personally enjoy the desk adjusting side of things. Personally enjoy. So now that I'm a daily adjuster versus working as a desk adjuster, I did not enjoy, I personally don't enjoy the desk adjusting. Now, I know a lot of people that's all they want to do because they don't want to be in front of the customer, having to look at them face to face when they go to their house and walking in their house and snooping around their house, taking photos. And, some people don't feel very comfortable with that. And some people just love being on the phone, telling all people all the bad news and, go home. So I didn't like it because I've been self-employed, let's see, now going on 35 years. So self-employed means just like an independent adjuster is, but I have had my own businesses, have been self-employed for 35 years. When you go in to be a desk adjuster, you are technically self-employed, but you're treated as an employee, meaning you're in an office setting, you have a manager, you have a trainer, you have all the politics that go on with sitting in an office and all the bureaucracy and the people scratching each other's back and the people drinking out after work trying to move their way up the totem pole. I mean, it's all the politic garbage that really drove me nuts. And the number one reason I hated desk adjusting was that the person next to me or two doors down is doing absolutely nothing, meaning goofing off, deleting all their voicemails, deleting their emails, not doing anything, and they're making the same hourly wage as me busting my tail and doing a good job. So that just irked me. I was like, because my trainer, they don't care. They honestly, there's such a tough environment now in the politics of an office where you can't say this or you can't do this because then people will perceive it as your prejudice or you're favoring this person or whatever. And I can't handle that stuff. To me, I was like, look, you're getting paid to do a job, do your job well. If you don't want to do the job and you just want to sit and goof off, then you deserve to be fired. So, hey, how's it going, Ringo? Cool. So I think the politics of the desk adjusting to me just allowed me to just rub me the wrong way. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be around people that don't want to work. And it unfortunately is 3/4. I would say 3/4 of the people I sat around were just there to party and have a goof off time and just, they were getting paid and they knew, had that hourly mentality again of, hey, I don't have to really do anything, and I still, if I put in my hours, I make the money, which is true. And State Farm and whoever else, there's tons of other ones like that. Liberty Mutual is exactly the same way too. They want a warm body that's doing, the basics to make sure that when that phone rings, there's somebody there to answer it and to be ready. Because think about it. If you call in a claim and there's an hour hold time, the first thing you're thinking of is, I need to change insurance companies because this company can't handle my business. So they put a whole bunch of warm bodies, and this is why State Farm Express became real popular. Pay like $25 an hour, but it's because they're glorified operators. They just basically want a warm body there to take the basics of the claim, make sure somebody's addressed, and send it on to the claims department after that, to the real adjusters who are actually doing the work. The Express team are basically semi-adjusters, half adjusters being paid much less, basically take the basics of the claim and help people get it started. But as soon as they start asking policy questions or, what's going to happen, then, well, let me get you over to somebody who can help you, and they transfer you over to the real adjuster side. So, Gordon, you said, do you offer over phone calls, consultation, too much on text and chat? The email I can send you and pay 50. You guys are sweet. I tell you, you guys rock. I'm so glad you guys like to learn because, one of the things that I've learned about, and Gordon, I'll have to answer that question. I'll have to think about it because I would love to talk to you guys. And Michael, I remember you. Yeah, Michael, he bought my macros. You're welcome. I'm glad you bought those. Guys, I really want you to understand, I'm selling those macros at a super cheap. When I bought my macros, okay, so I was new too. And so I bought some macros from a guy, I can't even remember. He charged me $30 for 30 macros. I was like, well, that's a great deal. I got 30 macros. It was a pretty good deal. I mean, I actually felt like I learned a lot from seeing his macros. And this was basically a whole bunch of line items in an estimate. Like say I'm doing a roof and they put in like 15 line items in that macro, and I can just copy and paste it and put it into my estimate and then just tweak the things. Like there's 3 vents instead of 2 or whatever. I can just go down the line and change it. But I can write an estimate pretty quick. So when I bought it for $30, I was actually pretty pleased. Well, now I'm selling, I think 200 or 300 of them. Now, some of them are garbage because some of them I forgot to edit and change or whatever, but there's a lot of good info. I mean, I would say 85% of them are rock on. They're great. And I'm selling for 49 bucks. So I'm giving a steal, but I'm very thankful for every person who purchases them because I'm so excited. I'm glad to be helping you guys. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but make sure you hit the thanks on the underside of my videos, because that sends me cash and it's really cool. And so if you like the video and you want to, tell me thanks, $2, $3, whatever. I'm so great. There's a couple of people who gave me money. In fact, there was a guy who just gave me $10 on this video, on the last video, which, well, we canceled it. So anyway, so thrilled because it lets me know that you guys are appreciating what I'm doing here. And I don't plan on stopping. I think what it does, it helps me to understand what you guys find interesting so that I can repeat it, make more videos about the stuff that you guys find interesting, instead of wasting time. Like I just posted one with a ladder hook, and it's really great product for latching your ladder to the gutter. It's a great safety tool, but I only got like 40 people who looked at it or something. So obviously it wasn't a very popular video, but a great product. So check it out. Look at my other videos and see that ladder product, because I use a bungee to attach my my ladder to the gutter. And yes, it's a cheap alternative, but this product was like totally amazing. And it just clamps onto the gutter like with a hand clamp, and then has a little hook that comes around the ladder that you can adjust and rock on. Man, that thing is so solid that that ladder's not, I'd have to pull the whole stinking gutter off the house before it would ever come down or move your ladder. So totally great. Look in my bio, I've got it in there, a link in there for you. But anyway, so as far as consultation, I would love to think about that as far as, Gordon, you're totally awesome. So yeah, I might consider that. So Yeah, because there's a lot of questions people have that are specific that I may not get to. So yeah, I'll think about it. But one of the things that I designed my channel for, and I think somebody had asked me this before, is I had 3 ride-alongs with another adjuster. The first adjuster that when I first started my career, I got to do 3 ride-alongs. Now, you gotta remember, you only can remember so much of what the knowledge is that you have. So I was brand new. I knew Xactimate pretty good. I didn't know what I was actually doing when we went into the ride-alongs, which means I didn't do any, I think I did 1 roof and 2 interiors. And when we went to the interior, there was lots of water damage and there was lots of drywall out all over the place, but I didn't know, he didn't talk through and say, hey, when we go to this room, this is what I'm looking for, this is um, what I'm writing as far as for my estimate. This is what I'm going to do. So he didn't tell me any of that when we were in the room. So when we left, he was like, yeah, look, we drew the roof, or we drew the rooms, and we got all our measurements and all this, and then we're going to go home and write the estimate. We went back to the office, and then he wrote the estimate and gave me something else to do, like drawing a roof. Well, it didn't really help me to put 2 and 2 together. Like if we had worked on the estimate and wrote what we were actually just had seen, that might have been a better training for me to be able to say, oh, well, I remember that. We had like 12 square feet of sheetrock out, and that's why this line item's here, but we didn't do that. So really my ride-alongs were really crummy. I mean, I was excited to go, and I kind of, the benefit to me in the ride-along was to be able to see what is the conversation that goes on with the homeowner. You know, how much interaction am I having with the homeowner? And there's actually very little. You say hello, and you know, I'm the adjuster, I'm here to inspect your home. You got some water damage somewhere in the house, would you mind showing me where that is? And then they take you there, and you take your far away, your mid photos and your close-up photos. You draw the room real quick on your paper, and you get out of the house. Maybe if there's an attic to crawl up in and you can find out where the leak's coming from, great. But if not, hey, I take a picture of the small attic access. Too small for big fat me to get in there, and so pretty much I get away with getting out of the attic pretty quick. So anyway, so I was able to learn over time the quickest way to get in and out of those people's houses, to make them feel comfortable, but also to, and those are people skills, to be able to get in and out and be able to help them, you know, feel comfortable with me as a stranger coming into their home. But the benefit is, you got to remember, you're with their insurance company, you're representing that insurance company, so you can make them feel comfortable just with that alone, that you're their friend, you're there to help them. So I kind of, when I get to the door and I have that conversation with them, that's the first thing I'm doing, is I'm saying, well, thank you so much for allowing me to come and interrupt you so early in the morning. I hear we've got a claim open for some water damage. You know, do you mind if we take a look at it? And you know, and all of a sudden you're asking for permission to come in their home when you already had the permission because you were setting up that appointment. But you're just going to that people skills of just saying, well, now I'm entering your home, do you mind if I come in? And the funny thing is that the simple answer for them, they go, well, of course you can. You set up an appointment, of course. Why wouldn't you want to come in? But you're then asking them to come into their home, which is now leaving the power in their hands. So you're taking that pressure of me coming in and interrupting them, and now they're turning around and inviting me. So it's very important. Those people skills are so important. You guys can't forget those, because then it makes everything easy when you're going through the difficult stuff. Like when you get into a house and there's mold everywhere, like under the kitchen sink, you know this is probably going to be a denial. I mean, because there's policy language. You'll learn this over time, but there's certain policy language. Some of the carriers say absolutely no mold, any long-term water damage, you know, we're not going to cover. Well, you can't predetermine that as you go into that person's house, that you're denying the claim. You can't even talk to them about that. So you're treating them as if their claim is covered, that you're taking the time to look at things, you're documenting it, you're taking the photos that you need, you're being as kind as you can to that person. got to remember, you got to do all the things as if the claim is covered, even though back in your head, you know, the simple thing you're going to do when you get home is write a one-liner in your estimate that says appears the damage happened over a year ago, long-term neglect, you know, mold underneath the sink has been ongoing for a long time, appears that the damage may not be covered. Waiting approval from desk adjuster, but not, you know, not prepared an estimate at this time, but if you would like us to write an estimate later, we'll be more than happy to do it. Something like that. So you're leaving a statement like that in your estimate. It's allowing you to get that claim done really quick, but that interaction with the people, that's still so important to make sure that you're making them feel, you know, that, you know, you're listening to them and you're willing to, you know, hear from them about the damage that they have. All right, any other questions? Gordon's still asking, what's my Instagram? Is that my Instagram? What is my Instagram? I think it's Adjuster to Help, I think, or it's Clear Sky Drone Imagery. So you can look for either one of those and I think it'll come up, or Daniel the Adjuster, I can't remember. I think it is more the Clear Sky Drone, CS, or Clear Sky Drone Imagery, I think it is. Talk a little bit about that. I originally started my YouTube channel with only my drone photos. I love taking photos with my drone and I love photos in general. So I actually really enjoy photo taking. And I started the channel with some videos, just kind of flying my drone around. And so that's really why you guys are like, well, why in the world you don't just call it Daniel the Adjuster instead of the Clear Sky Drone? And I said, because it started out as a drone YouTube channel. So they don't allow us to use drones yet to do any type of inspections on roofs. Pretty much insurance, they will allow the desk adjuster to potentially use, what I mean by this, let me rephrase, it's not really the desk adjuster, but the employee adjusters for the insurance company. They have several, 2, 3 adjusters that are employees that go out and do inspections as well. And only when they get overwhelmed will they hire an independent to help out. So there's fluff flying around. Independents are fill-in. So this is why we really slow down in the wintertime, is because there's not a whole lot of claims that are opened in the wintertime unless we have a storm event. So typically, that's why we see things slow down. So the desk adjuster or employee adjuster, they can use a drone to do the inspections. And they allow that, the State Farm, whoever allows that, because they don't want the liability of that person falling off the roof. If they were to fall off the roof, then you're looking at their health benefits going through the roof, State Farm having to pay all these bills for the person falling off. So they just don't want them climbing the roofs. So they'll allow them to use drones to do the inspections. I see it very often, but they will not climb the roof. So independents, they have pretty much said independents can't use drones. We just won't accept that, which is so bizarre, because why would they allow their employee adjusters to use it, but they won't allow us? I think I could do a really good inspection with a drone. I've done it, and I can get within about 3 feet of the roof, and I do really close-up inspections. It's got a 4K camera on it. It's going to do great documentation. Now, the downside is, can I count the amount of shingles that are damaged from a drone without marking them? And that's where it gets tough. So let's say the carrier says, oh no, we need 40 shingles on that side before we'll total the slope. And on a drone, I can't really mark that. I can't mark it. Now, imagine if I could spray paint from a drone to mark each line for wind damage and make it in chalk or something. Now, that'd be cool, man. I'd design that and I'd be a millionaire. A drone that marks with chalk. So that would be the only way that I could then do an overview photo, which is why we do overview photos, is so you can see here's all the markings that were on the for wind damage on that slope, and you can see the marks, and you take that overview photo, and then when the desk adjuster looks at that, they can say, oh yeah, scatter damage, yeah, there's too many repairs, we'll go ahead and total that slope of the roof. So the drones, and we could probably see hail damage, and there's software out there that will do the hail inspections, totally terrific. We could do hail in a heartbeat from the drone, but they just are not doing it for some reason. So anyways, I'm certified as a drone operator. I've got my license in North Carolina and the federal license. So I'm waiting around to see if they'll ever make that an opportunity for us as adjusters. I would like that because, man, when I'm 90 years old, I can do this all day long. But climbing roofs is going to be a little bit hard when I'm 90. You think? Anyways, question. Somebody asked me a question. No, I don't know. Somebody asked me a question. I missed it. Let me see if oh, it's there. Okay. I don't know. So any other questions you guys got? I'm enjoying this, but you guys have to ask more questions, or maybe I'm just talking so much that I'm answering all your questions. Gordon's, he's going to message me in Instagram. Okay, cool. Thank you for the value you bring. You're welcome. I'm glad to help you guys, because I think it's, you know, one of the things that I mean, I was a contractor before doing this, making really good money. I was doing high-end remodels, you know, gutting entire houses, putting additions on homes, putting second stories on homes, doing a lot of really big stuff. And I grew up as a carpenter, so I did all the carpentry, I did all the trim work, I did all the cabinetry. I did everything, hardwood floors. And when I was doing my own houses, I was actually wiring my own houses, plumbing my own houses, doing all the HVAC except for setting the unit in place, because you needed a license to do that. So that was really good income. But then when I got introduced to the adjuster side, I almost felt like it was impossible, or the money was fake. I was like, there's no way those guys are making that kind of money to adjust. I mean, I heard rumors, you know, like guys would say, I went on a catastrophe and I made 30 grand. And I was like, well, how long was the catastrophe? And they said 2 weeks. And I was like, no way. There's no way. And then I kept hearing the same stories. You know, then I'd hear it from some of the firms that were saying, you know, they were cutting checks, and they were seeing some of the checks that were going out to some of the field adjusters, and they were sending them, you know, $40,000 checks and whatever. And I don't know, I was just, I thought it was all too good to be true. But then as I moved into becoming more skilled, because the fact that it's really about how fast you can write an estimate, or how thorough you can write an estimate without big, you know, lots of returns or kickbacks. Things about, like, you know, think about it. If I send in a bad estimate and the file reviewer has to get it back to me 3 times to fix all my errors, then that's just slowing me down from doing my job. And then if I'm in a catastrophe and I'm writing 5 claims a day, then I can't afford to have these 5 claims come back 3 times. That means I'm touching these claims 15 times beyond writing the 5 claims. So as you become more proficient, you then start to write better estimates. The macros really helped me, and I use those every day. So I'm not trying to sell you something I don't use. I use the macros because I can see my estimate writing speed up. Like I did this fire one. I'm so thankful for the macros, because when I write a fire estimate and I'm having to replace all the drywall, all the light fixtures, all the trim, the doors, the baseboard, the flooring, the electrical, smoke detectors, returns on, you know, the HVAC returns, paint all the walls. That's about, I don't know, it's probably 100 line items by the time I go through all of those things. Well, it is so refreshing now that when I get a big fire, like I've had several fires here lately, and I'm doing that where I'm replacing everything, I just hit my macro, and in 1 second, I've got those 100 line items in my estimate. And so I can write estimates so fast now. And all I got to do is tweak. So how many light fixtures did I have? Oh, I got 3 in this room. Okay, and so I've got on my macro 1. So I just changed it to 3. And how many smoke detectors? Just 1. How many registers? 2. So I just have to go down and edit those small areas. Okay, the floor is carpet, whereas my macro says laminate floors. All I got to do is delete the laminate floor and the shoe mold and the painting in the shoe mold and replace it with carpet and pad. So some of those changes, I could save a macro specifically for carpet in that scenario, but it's hard to label because there's not a whole lot of room in the macro to, maybe 20 letters or something like that. So I try to put as best description as I can. So I just save, fire entire room. That to me explains my macro very simply. So that when I put in fire extra room or entire room, I know that there's every line item in there, and I just delete out the things that aren't there. So if I only have 6 outlets in that room and I have 8 on that macro, I just take out 2 and put 6. So if I carpet, I can change that. So there's just a couple line items that can change. So I can write these estimates really fast. Now the same thing goes for my roofing. So like when I go on a catastrophe, writing 5 claims is easy for me because I've got all my roofing right to a T. I know exactly what it takes for every roof, and I put in everything into the roof, whether it's skylights, whether it's flashing, every single thing in my roof macro for a 30-year laminate, a 3-tab, a discontinued shingle, a couple of slate roof, whatever. I've got all those in the macros. So when it comes in, I just go down the line one after another, and I just go, oh, there is no skylights, delete. Okay, there is no satellite, boop. And I just delete the ones I have, and then, oh, vents, I got 3. So I change that number to 3 instead of 1. How many cornice returns do I have? Oh, I got 2, and there's 1, and they're on high. So I can put those as a high charge. So that's how I write my estimates. So when I'm going to a catastrophe event, the roof, literally I can write that estimate in 15 minutes or less because it's just drop in, change and edit, boom. Then I got a siding estimate or a siding macro, and it's got all the items of siding. So I can quickly just, do the same thing. Got vinyl siding or I got cement siding, whatever. Got a macro for that. I got a window replace. Maybe there's a busted window from a hail claim. Got a window replace. All the line items involved in changing out a window. Boom, drop it in, edit a few things, change the square footage on the screen or the size of the window. Boom, it's a very quick fix. So when I'm going through these really big estimates, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 estimates when I'm on a catastrophe, I've got my macros all set up. So literally I'm just dropping them in one another, and then just editing the amounts, writing my report. Hour and a half, I've got that estimate written. So it's a super time saver. I literally don't know how I have survived without macros, or could I? Could I go back to writing these estimates again without macros? I would get a lot of files back. And the reason being is that, like I mentioned, each carrier has specific guidelines, like crazy stuff. Like, I'll tell you an example. One carrier will pay to detach and reset an HVAC vent. So those big tubes with the metal caps, they will pay to detach it and reset it, which is a significant event. If you're talking about a pipe that goes into the furnace inside the house, there's some skill involved in detaching that vent. You can't just yank it off the roof. It's not like the demo side of taking shingles off. This takes some effort, some care. Well, some of the carriers say, oh, well, the shingles are coming off, the vents will come off at the same time. Well, that's stupid, because that's not then allowing somebody to take care to take that vent off carefully and not do damage to the vent. If these guys know they're not getting paid to detach it, and it's all coming on just the pricing of just ripping the thing off the roof, then that care is not going to be there. So I think the carrier that pays for the detach and reset is someone who's willing to pay for the added expense that it is going to take care of removing that. The same thing like ridge vent. That's the thing that goes over the top of the ridge, and it's a plastic vent, and then the shingle's attached to the top of it. They take time to come off. There's nails, big, long, stinking 2.5-inch nails, or sometimes even screws holding that thing. So to say that they're not going to pay for the detach is crazy. I mean, that's a lot of work to take that thing off. Now, granted, the guys taking the roofs off are used to doing it, but it's not like a shingle where I can take off, 5 shingles at a time with a scoop of a shovel and knock it off in no time and be done. This thing is going to take some time to get off that roof and not do damage to the roof. So they should be paying for the detach. So when I build my macros, some of the carriers don't allow me to use the detach in that estimate writing. So I save a macro specifically for that carrier, because if I turned it in with a detach and reset, I'm going to get a file review back that says, hey, that carrier doesn't pay for the detach. Why are you including it on the estimate? So it makes me look bad and makes me cause more work because they're going to have to do that, the correction. So I use my macros because now I can save specifically for the carrier. This is what they allow for the detach and reset of that roof. Saves time, saves errors. So if I had to go back and do it without the macros, I'm going to make a lot of errors because I'm not going to remember. I have to go back to my cheat notes and look at every single roof. Now, do they pay for the detach of that vent? I can't remember. And so then I'd have to go in, and it'd take time. So the macros really save me a lot of time, and I use them every day for that reason, is I can write these estimates without I have to think about it. Just choose the carrier, and then 30-year laminate, boom, put it in. I don't have to think about whether it was a detach and reset. Just make sure you do the macro right first. And like I said, the carrier guidelines change, so I would have to edit that macro if they decided, yes, we're going to start paying for that right now. So things do change, so you got to keep track of it. So my macros are current for today, but in 3 months from now, they probably will have tweaks in them. And what's really great is you can tweak them. So that's what I did when I bought my first macros from a guy for $30 for 30 macros. It was kind of the generic fix of how to build things, sheetrock repair, blah, 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 whatever. But I would say that 100% of what I bought, first of all, I'm not using now because they've been tweaked. So that's just the way macros are. But get started, $49.99 gets you like 200 or 300 macros that I have. And I'm telling you, that fire one, I couldn't live without it because I've been doing a lot of fires lately. So, and check out my videos, man. I got a great fire one that I did. It was a total burn. And then this last one I just did 3 days ago. The whole stinking attic caught on fire from a lightning strike. And this was a stick-built house, 3,500 square foot house. And every single rafter in the entire attic is burnt. It was so black in that room because everything was black. I mean, no light was getting into it because every single piece of wood was black. So my estimate had to write for detaching and resetting the entire roof structure of that house. Well, along with every single bit of framing, the roofing, the framing, all that plywood, I also have to remove all the soffits and the fascia and all that trim that's around the perimeter, because that's what is mounted to the ends of the rafters is all that framing. So all of that had to come off too. And I also have brick that was in one of the cables. So the brick has to come off too, because once I take the roof off, well, there's no way to hold the brick anymore. So it just becomes a really expensive repair, some of these fire ones, but it's so nice to have a macro that can just go ahead and, drop it in. And so I wrote a $254,000 estimate in about 6 hours. So that was killer. But when I was first starting, it'd take me 3 days because I just didn't know enough about how to write for an entire house. So, and I didn't have the macros all set up. So now it's definitely a speeder. I can really speed through them and I make really good money. Question: State Farm internal total loss adjuster. If I leave internal, can I do external deployments as a State Farm external? That's a really good question. So you are an employee as an internal adjuster. You got signed an alias. When you turn into an independent, you have to give up that and get rebranded. Totally new alias, because they set it up as an independent rather than an employee. So you would literally be leaving the employee side to become an independent. Now, the benefit to becoming an independent is you're going to make twice to three times what you were making as an employee. I mean, I don't recommend anyone be an employee. I mean, I get it. There are some people that say, I'm never going to travel. I'm never going to go out of town. This is, I can't travel. I got kids. My kids are locked in, to school or whatever. My wife works. She would never come with me, blah. I get it. Totally get it. I'm not judging. But I tell you, the opportunities for independence, if you have the ability to travel, are amazing. That's where you're going to get your experience. That's where you're going to make your big time bucks, and you're going to get an opportunity to really start into the daily world after that. So once you've gained the experience in the catastrophe world, maybe being a desk adjuster and doing that for a while, then they're going to see that you know the claim process, and then you could become potentially a daily adjuster. That's literally my story. My story was I had to pay the dues of the desk adjusting first before anyone would give me an opportunity to go on a catastrophe. Now, I could go on a catastrophe as a desk adjuster and they'll give those opportunities every day of the week. But the catastrophe I went on was a field adjuster catastrophe. I went on my first hail claim to Abilene, Texas. I knew nothing about field adjusting except for the 3 little drive-alongs that I did with this guy. But it was so hard. It was a very, very stressful time. I only did 20 claims. 20 claims. Took me 2 weeks to do 20 claims. It was crummy. And it was miserable. Everything about it was miserable, but it was such a learning process that it was so invaluable. It allowed me to understand the CAT process, the stress level, the intensity level. And back then I was so not very good, so I didn't make very much money because I wasn't writing claims like I write today.